All right, at 7:07, this is the April Flood and Erosion Control Board meeting. Present is Becky Bunnell, Chair, and if everyone could go around and announce who you are and what title, if any, you have on the call.
Dick Mahusky, I'm the Secretary.
Charles Abercrombie, member of the board.
Peter Wiswell, member.
Okay, thank you. We are now going to call the meeting to order. We are going to move to the first agenda item, which is to hear, consider, and act upon the draft minutes of the March 19th meeting. And can I have any comments on those minutes?
I have no comments.
This is Dick. I have a couple of comments.
Okay.
Maybe your granddaughter wants to make comments.
So Dick, go ahead and give us your comments. I don't know how to. I'm going to try and mute myself.
Do you have a mute button on your granddaughter? Okay. So first, under others present, I would, instead of members of the public, I would strike that out and have Joe Caffarelli, comma, via dial-in, and then comma, and I would add Prue O'Brien because she was in attendance. And then on item number 2, Prue had referenced item number 5. It's actually number 6, so strike 5 and insert 6, where it talks about discuss marsh migration. And then in that conversation, halfway down, the sentence is, there are 5 buildings and 2 have water around them consistently. I would change around to close to, because the water is only on the one side. It's not on the other 3 sides of the buildings. And then
that's correct. My notes show that you said that it was behind the building.
Ah, okay. So that's good. So I will change my close to behind. And then further on it says, Chairwoman Becky Bunnell said there is a potential project that could help, but it remains unfunded. I would change that sentence to read, Chairman Becky Bunnell confirmed there is a potential project for the Reef Road culvert that could help, but it remains unfunded, just to identify what that project is. And then in item number 3, halfway in the middle of it, the sentence is that are familiar with the situation. I would say they are familiar with the situation. It's talking about Terry Contracting. Although I don't know what interest that is. You know, it's like, yeah, okay, so they're familiar with. I don't know, but so just change that to they, and then the next line down, Fairchild Wheeler ACOE permits have been pulled. I would say issued, because pulled is a term that the contractors use. It's not something that the department does. The department issues permits. And then in the second to the last line on the right-hand side, it says, DPW was on bulkhead of Pine Creek looking along the flap gates and tide gates and making repairs. I would just change along to at, because they were looking at the flap gates and tide gates and making repairs. And then on what prints out is page 2. So this is the next paragraph under item 3. Dick Mahusky discussed an old list of projects the FECB had proposed. I would change proposed to previously generated, because we're not proposing these projects. We're trying to just keeping track of them. And then Under item number 7, second line down, sentence is Becky Bunnell spoke with Bill Hurley and told him it will cost $25,000 from a special services fund. I would suggest it reads, Becky Bunnell spoke with Bill Hurley, and it's possible the $25,000 can be allocated from a special services fund, rather than you telling Bill Hurley where to get the money from. The next
and
sentence.
Dick, if I can suggest, Dick, if I.
Yep.
We're muted. Dick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. So I actually think it's not that it be allocated from the Special Services Fund. It would be allocated from the Fairfield Beach Club budget to professional services.
Ah.
Why don't just put a period after 25,000?
We were gonna reduce that the 100,000 that sits there currently. We were proposing to reduce that to 75 and reallocate 25 of that over to professional services, which would allow us then to retain David Murphy's company. And Bill and I were in agreement on that.
Okay. Chuck just suggested, how about if we simply strike from a special services fund? So it reads, Becky Bunnell spoke with Bill Hurley and told him it will cost $25,000, period. Then the next sentence says, the money will come from the Beach Club Fund. And I also don't know that we call that the Beach Club Fund. Okay, how about this? So how about if it reads, Becky Bunnell spoke with Bill Hurley and told him it will cost $25,000, period. Then we strike from a special services fund, new sentence, the money will come from the Beach Club Fund. Just strike all of that. So after $25,000, it simply continues, purchasing director Adam Cullen and Bill Hurley are working on a professional service contract for Mr. Murphy.
Becky, are you there?
That works. That seems to work.
Okay, good. Then that's what we'll do. We'll just strike that strike everything after $25,000 until purchasing director Adam Tulin. Okay, that's good. And then the last thing on item number 8, the second bullet at the end, talking about the meeting that was held at the Fire Training Center. The do's and don'ts of living in a flood zone. I would suggest living on the shorefront, because they basically focused on the shorefront, as opposed to me in a flood zone or somebody up in the riverine flood zones.
Agreed.
Okay, and that's all the comments I have.
Does anyone else have any comments?
None here.
All right, and would anyone like to make a motion to amend the minutes as suggested by Mr. Mahusky?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, can I have all in favor? Please note your approval with the aye.
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 Okay, so moved.
Item number 2. This is not working. Becky, you still there?
Sorry. So item 2. Sorry. Item 2 is update on the Penfield Resiliency Project. And my only update point is that Eli had mentioned that the race said they would have designs available for review, first pass at least, at the end of April. Dick, I don't know if you've heard anything else or if anyone else has heard anything else. No, that communication. That was actually a race email that they sent to Eli and Eli passed it on or something. Yes, exactly.
Yes. Right. So they're going to have a couple of things worked out by the end of April or early May, if I'm recalling it.
April 26th.
Oh, did he say early May too? I thought it was end of April.
No, Chuck just our resident payer attention to detail says race said April 26th.
Oh, they even gave a date. Okay.
Which is a week from this Friday, I believe.
Excellent. All right. I took a picture the other day, which I will send around. They have removed a lot of the sand/soils from below the locker room, and I don't know whether they have over-excavated it because they do need to put some additional bracing on the timber piles there. So I'm not clear on that, but you can see right underneath it, right out to the water. Really nice. That's what the intent is supposed to be.
Yeah, and they're working on saw cutting the grade beam to get them out of the way so they can address the individual column caps going forward.
Okay. Any other? I guess the only other update is that we obviously had a flow through with this last big storm, but I'm not sure what the implications of that are, other than we need to think about landscaping that would allow some sand fences and things like that to start to minimize erosion.
And just to note, none of that type of thing is noted on the construction drawing set as it exists today. There's no landscaping at all. So
I thought there was some landscaping in the front on one of the construction drawings I saw. Is there not?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'd have to look again. I don't know. I don't know that.
In the front, as in on the street side.
On the water side, there is no grasses or snow fences or.
Yeah. I believe the only thing if I were recalling it correctly, was it was on the street side.
Okay.
Okay, I have a hungry grandkid here. Let's move on to item 3, unless there's any other comments on Penfield.
No. But you're a grandma. You're supposed to be able to hand them off to their parents. That's the beauty of being a grandparent, isn't it?
That's why we're here, is the parents are gone.
Oh.
We are the babysitters. Okay, so let me move on to item 3, which is update on our board's request for the Board of Selectmen to have a resolution to modify our board's powers and duties and duty details by means of a new ordinance. So I got a note back from Jen Carpenter was a suggestion from Bill saying that he would like to set up a meeting with himself and I guess the Liz, who I think is the I'm not sure, she's in the RTM. She's the majority leader of the RTM.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Liz.
And so Jen had offered to set that up, and I said, yes, thank you. I would like you to set that up, and I have not gotten a date yet. So I will follow up and see if we can get a date. I'm not sure I'm not sure what the intent behind the conversation is, but I suspect that it is just to make sure that, before we go through putting it on the Board of Selectmen agenda, that there is some heart for taking it up in the RTM as well down the road. But that's a hypothesis. I don't actually know that was the intent.
Okay.
So it's basically, it stands right now. Jen is setting up a three-way call.
A call or a meeting?
It was a call. She suggested a call. I can go back and say I'd be happy to meet in person as well, but she suggested just a call, and she had offered to coordinate that. So I just need to follow up and chase her down and see if she's gotten a date. I did notice that I think this might have been I can't remember if it was in Bill's newsletter or what, but I think Bill had put in $100,000 for a charter revision commission to go back and relook at amendments to the charter, and that was taken out by either the Board of Finance or the RTM. I don't know if anyone else caught that.
It was in his newsletter, I think. And I'm thinking that the Board of Finance took it out, and he's petitioning the RTM to put it back in.
Okay.
Subject to reading it again, but that's what's in my memory about that.
Because if that does stay out, that's all the more reason to request that we move forward via ordinance. Even if we get pushed back into a charter revision situation, that's going to take well over a year, which yes. I do think that there is certainly, from our standpoint, a little bit more urgency than that. But hopefully we can move this forward with an ordinance rather than waiting to be part of a charter commission.
Yes, I agree.
Plus, Becky, that's not what the statute says. So I think my view is the wrong vehicle with the charter.
I think that the statute says by ordinance. Right. The words by ordinance are in there. Yes.
Right.
Even if they went ahead with the charter revision, I still think
we would still need an ordinance, is what you're saying.
Yes, that's exactly what.
All right, that's good guidance. I will make sure that I communicate that too. And Chuck, maybe you should join me when we finally get this meeting set up, if you're available, just because I think you're a little better read on the statutes and the legalities of this. So if it's okay with you, I will include you in the call.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments or discussion on item 3?
No, just need to keep trucking.
Okay. Let's move on to item 4, which is to discuss the 2024 Master Flood Mitigation and Resilience Plan. That is the $25,000 that we had just talked about in the minutes for Dave Murphy's group to help shape the RFP and oversee the selection of the consultant who would actually run that project, is actually on the Board of Selectmen's agenda for tomorrow. So I will be speaking to that at 4 o'clock tomorrow, and hopefully that will get approved. I don't believe it needs to get approved beyond the Board of Selectmen, according to purchasing, but I will confirm that.
Yeah, I believe that is the case. It's only Board of Selectmen.
Yeah. So that would be great. We'd be able to finally at least kick off, tighten up the RFP and kick off the selection of firms.
Right.
So good news on that. It's moving forward. Then we have to find the budget, but that's Plan B. let's at least get the first part going.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Any other comments on item 4?
No.
Okay. Let's move on to item 5, which is update on the status of active projects. I did not get a chance to chat with Bill, so I don't have any specific updates versus last month.
I did not reduce the previous listing of projects to a new iteration of them. I also did not talk with Bill at length. I did ask him specifically about the Tidegate study, because the Tidegate study appeared in the backup for both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance meetings. So I asked Bill, let's see, where was this? So on April 9th, which was just last week, so April 9th, I asked Bill some questions about what I see in the backup for the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. And I wrote this on the 9th, which was the day of the Board of Finance agenda. And it was the project was, I guess this is a bonding issue, so it has to go before all three bodies, I guess. And it passed Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and it's still. I'll just kind of briefly read through this. My questions to Bill. Number one, it says draft on the cover page with a date of 9/8/23. Is there still to be a final version released after you finish the long review? Answer, RACE is revising draft based on engineering and conservation comments. We expect final report sometime in late April, early May 2024. Appendix in 2025. My second question, is your review finished or not? Answer, yes, but always subject to change. There are some minor updates on a couple of inspections and results from the 6 buried tide gates. My question number 3, if this is not the final version, when can we at ECB expect to see that? Again, he refers to number 1, late April, early May, and RACE is going to then call that final. And then I asked about the cost. I said I added up the listed OPC costs and don't get up to the $1.923 million, which is the ask for the funding. What is the actual schedule of values you are using to arrive at that total? Answer, we added up high priority, medium priority, and low priority. Then we added about $220,000 to clean up contaminated sediment that buries or blocks 6 tide gates. I also stretched another $100,000 for contingency or extra work in year number 5. And then he just notes, please note the final report will still not include in detail the 6 tide gates with soil issues. We hope to have that in 8 to 12 months. So this is a long ongoing project here. I guess the report is going to be an ongoing guidance document as the appendices get adjusted or updated or something. So it's moving, but it's not a fast track report that's coming out. He also mentioned, I asked him who's like shepherding this whole project, and he said basically Mega. So this is Mega's project to shepherd along the way.
From an engineering standpoint, Mega is, but Tim Bishop is from conservation, right? So.
Well, I am not clear in my own mind for that because Tim Bishop is responsible for the self-regulating tide gates, and DPW is responsible for all the pure mechanical flat gates, as I understand it. So it's still joint responsibility, but Mega is doing the legwork. That's how I envision it.
Okay. I think as we progress this, let's get clarity, but I'm glad to hear it's a living document, which means that presumably it won't sit on a shelf somewhere, but it will be updated on a regular basis and looked at on a regular basis. So that's good news.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any other updates on active projects. I do think we need to get our master list updated. So, Dick, if I can help you with that, I'd be happy to, but it's up to you whether you just do it. Yeah.
The other thing I'd mention is that I sent around, you all got copied on my request to Mr. Gerber to have the Pine Creek Tide Gate Advisory Committee convened, and that's triggered by this 139 College Place situation. And I sent him that request somewhere on April 2nd, and noted that Don and I, and this was all in the email to you guys, Don and I actually visited with Mr. Caffarelli on March 26th. And I sent that to Mr. Gerber on April 2nd, had heard nothing. I followed up on him only yesterday on the 15th, asking if he's considered my request. So that's also in progress on our part, anyway.
The only other update I have was on Pine Creek dredging, which is that we are able to use the sand from that dredging and put that on the Fairfield beaches if we so desire, according to the DEEP presentation that was at the Fire Training Center. They don't have a problem with us reusing that, which is actually good news, because we were originally of the opinion that we might not be able to put that back. So I think the question so that project is actually almost ready to. I think has received pretty much everything they need from a permitting standpoint. So the next steps will be to get a formal permit and then start to find funding for it, because it is going to be expensive. And so they're going to.
So the certificate of permission, they were trying to bootstrap on the certificate of permission that was issued after Sandy, I think. And
I believe they were able to do that. And I think they had obviously had to do extra borings and provide a little bit of extra data, but I believe that is going to move forward with an update of that permit. Yes, of the post Sandy permit.
Okay. Yeah, because my last recollection was that in order to give that okay, they needed to get a recharacterization of the dredge profile. They did. They
went ahead and they did some borings and some sampling. So whatever they needed to do, they did that, and that was paid for, and it's been sent to DEEP, and I think it was accepted. Now I don't think the permit has been issued yet. I'd have to go back and check that. But as far as I know, everything looked like it was going to move forward to permitting.
Okay.
I'll confirm that, but. All that is just an okay to do it. Now they have to figure out how to fund it.
Okay. Becky, somewhat in the same vein, under new business, I was going to note that I reached out again to Blakesley Construction, who eConcrete recommended as a contractor vendor who was familiar with their systems and installation. I've called them 2 or 3 times and I haven't gotten a response, but I just haven't pushed hard enough, I think. I will go to them again, and there could be an interface between that sand and a long-term groin solution with T-zone.
Okay. I mean, I will say that in the DEEP presentation, when they were talking about, they basically came in on, I believe it was April 4th at the Fire Training Center and talked about all of the things and different kinds of permits what you needed to do with permits and what you could do under a general permit as far as sand grading and beach nourishment and all these things. And groins came up as one of the items. And they had a fairly strong reaction against T's on the end of groins. They are fairly negative against groins to begin with, but they did sort of acknowledge that there might be some opportunity to, at least maintain the existing groins if we wanted to propose to maintain them, but not build them out.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, there was a fairly strong negative flood control structure concern with. Because I specifically mentioned would adding T's to groins be something that we could pilot to see if we could accrete sand, and they were fairly negative towards that. But it doesn't mean we couldn't go back and ask it again, but that there was not a huge positive outwelling, let's say.
Well, I first have to get a contractor to talk to me, and I haven't pushed hard enough. But I will. I'll push some more.
Are you strangling that child? Do we have to call the Pittsburgh Police Department? I think she stepped away.
Sorry, I just had to deal with the grandkid. I'm like, okay now. We had the grandfather come in and get him.
Oh, good. Finally. So just quickly, was that session with Deep at the Fire Training Center? Do you think that was helpful to the folks?
I think it was very helpful. One of the things that was mentioned was that there are certain times where you can do beach nourishment below the coastal jurisdiction line, and those are in obviously the non-horseshoe crab mating season. So basically from September 16th, I think, to April 1st, you can actually nourish beaches by taking sand from the low tide area and moving it up to the beaches, which is interesting. So from a beach nourishment standpoint, our beaches, our sandbars basically are at our low tide, and so we could shift some of the sand from the sandbars up onto the beaches if we wanted to during this particular season. Is the way I understood it. The other things that came up, because I was trying to ask a lot of what is possible and what is not possible. I asked specifically about reinforced dunes, and they said, we talked about the geotube version of reinforced dunes, and they said that really would not be, that would be considered a flood control structure, but they said that they would certainly be open to discussions about nature-based reinforced dunes. So things like coconut coil or maybe bales of hay and things like that might be at least open to a well, possibly. I mean, this is a discussion.
Big rocks are nature-based.
They might find that a flood control structure. but the question, the openness was at least open to discussion, was at least heartening. That there was at least a consideration that a discussion to be had. Let's put it that way.
Now, who was there representing Deep? Was it from their permitting section, or
they actually brought about 8 people? They had people from their wildlife section. They had people there from their waterfront and marina section. They had people there from I didn't remember any of the names. I wrote them down, and I don't have that in front of me right now. They had the guy who does the sand grading over at Sherwood Island come and talk about what kind of grading we can do and what kind we can't. They brought quite a few people and really tried to touch upon all the different things, and they left some booklets obviously the booklets are the same thing as the one online, but they said there's a lot you can do under just a general permit.
Okay, and this was not recorded, is that correct?
My understanding is it wasn't, which would be although they did have, it was a Zoom. So maybe it was recorded because there were people there that were calling in remotely. So I wonder. I didn't ask if they were recorded it. I'll check. I wrote the people's names down and I kept the card of one person. So let me check to see if it was recorded, and that way we can.
Okay, that would be beneficial.
That would be helpful. Yeah.
Was it a good turnout?
It was reasonable. It wasn't all Fairfield because I think this was a regional meeting. So there were people from Westport, and I think there might have been someone from Milford. So there were definitely quite a few Fairfield people there, but it was a representation of the shoreline communities.
Okay, that's good.
All right. Well, I have nothing more on active projects for today's call. So are there any other new business items that we would want to discuss?
No,
Nothing here.
I have nothing else. Peter, do you have anything else?
Nothing. Nope. Nothing here.
Okay. All right, Madam Chairwoman, I see no one else with burning commentary in their hearts.
Then I suggest we adjourn the meeting. Can I have a second?
I would second that.
Second.
Okay. Thank you all, and we will talk next month.